Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a great time. I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm really excited to talk about a subject that, quite frankly, occupies a lot of my thinking time. My name is Diego Quiroga. I've been in the industry for more than 20 years, half of them leading engineering teams building scale distributed systems for AWS, OLX, and Google. I'm currently a principal software engineering manager at Microsoft, where I lead platform engineering teams for Viva Engage. Viva Engage, what's that? Viva Engage, formerly known as Yammer, is a communication tool designed to help coworkers, leaders, and communities connect across the organization. Today, I'll talk about the role of platform teams and share some stories of my own team and the practical challenges we face and what we did about it. Let's begin with a very simple question. What is a platform engineering team? A lot of people might have their own definitions, but it's hard to agree on a single one. So for the purpose of this talk, I choose this one. Platform teams provide knowledge, support, and the building blocks that feature teams use to ship business-facing functionality at a faster pace. In other words, the mission of the platform team, should you choose to accept it, is enabling product teams to get things done. How about that one? Platform teams come in different flavors, but they all share the same purpose. They are horizontal enablers of the business. For that reason, I believe infrastructure or operations or DevOps teams should be included in this category. Also, teams dedicated to improve developer experience or building internal developer platforms. And teams like mine, owning a set of foundational backend services with names like core services, core frameworks, core platform, and so on. In one way or another, I've personally been in core something since 2013. Being both engineering teams, feature and product teams, share some of the activities and responsibilities of a platform team. They both need to satisfy customer needs. In the case of feature teams, they satisfy external customers. In the case of platform teams, they satisfy internal customers. They both need to deliver under time and capacity constraints. We all need to take care of tech debt, so it doesn't grow beyond our capacity. Teams, both feature and platform teams, need to deal with conflicting priorities, and we all need to must collaborate on complex cross-team or wide initiatives. But platform teams have some unique challenges that, in my opinion, set them apart. Platform teams need to be one step ahead, making bets to have new capabilities ready by the time they are needed by other teams in the org. Platform teams, while working on their own projects, they might also tackle support requests. Platform teams gather a captive audience with the same expertise. So there are engineers like them, and that can become a double-edged sword at times. On the other hand, the value of platform investments are not easy to explain to many stakeholders. Platform decisions, actions, and inactions have long-term consequences and larger blast radius. But enough theory for now. Now that we have established some baseline concepts, let me give you a 1-minute rundown of Viva Engage so you have context for what comes next. Viva Engage was born in 2008 as Yammer under the premise of working out loud. What that means. The idea was being transparent and public by default will help companies build stronger internal relationships. In June 2012, the startup was acquired by Microsoft, and for a while set aside as kind of a black sheep of the family, with its extended use of open source, Java, Ruby, and MacBooks. The integration with Microsoft Teams in 2019 and an increased growth in interest for enterprise social networks around 2020 led to a full UI revamp, new offerings like Answers, and the rebranding in 2023 to Viva Engage. In terms of scale, we serve 1 billion feeds weekly with real-time updates and a read-write ratio of 600 to 1. We're currently at 60 million MAU, and the goal is to get to 100 next year. Zooming into my team, we own a set of backend services and components just above the bottom of the stack. In a sequence diagram, you will find our services as downstream dependencies from pretty much everything else. Our reliability contributes most of the nines of the final user experience. These services, you can see there, are leveraged by teams who build on top of them features like communities, live events, storyline, campaigns, leadership corner, answers, and many others. When I joined Viva Engage at Microsoft, I found the activity of any given day for the platform team was hectic and frenetic. There were people solving performance and reliability issues. There were others working on new product features as part of temporary crews. And each one of them, they were cycling through a very heavy on-call rotation. The team also handled steady stream of PR reviews and requests for assistance in all kinds of things. On top of that, they were invited all time for meetings to consultation. In the best cases, the teams reach out well in advance of their plans. In most cases, they rush at the very last minute to get the blessings of the platform team. Even when all this activity was really valuable, the hectic situation increased the risk of either overworking people or missing breaking or performance impacting changes. What if, I thought, we could bring some structure, understand how time was spent, and reduce the volume of last-minute rush conversations? In our first iteration to improve things, we tried the following. We introduced more rigor in the way we handle inbound requests. We created guidelines for the people doing the triage, and we automated the tracking in our ticketing tool to get a real sense of the volume of those requests, the turnaround time, the most demanded topics at the most demanding teams. We also formalized office hours to discuss future project needs. It was nothing too fancy or sophisticated. It was for every booking, and depending on the topic, I manually added the SMEs that were more appropriate from my team. What was important was having a minimum lead time of 48 hours, which makes easier for us to review the materials that were shared by our colleagues in advance. Finally, I used every opportunity that I had to educate the rest of the org about our domain and the importance of involving us very early on in the planning cycle. So I posted reminders across all communities. I reached out to EMs and PMs, and I even hijacked some time in meetings to explain the way user flows depending on our services. So what happened with these three initiatives? Tracking inbound requests in our ticketing tool was great, was probably the best. I could put all that data in the dashboard and confirm that the volume of requests that we get from other teams week over week was much heavier than anyone suspected. And also, surfacing this information paid off in many different ways. It made us better at chasing lingering requests at the tail end of our time to response curve. You can see there, most of the things are resolved in 0 days or 1 day, and there are things like 20, 22. That's kind of probably something that was not close or something that we forgot. The other value that we got from this is it gave us the ability to show impact when we're discussing resourcing or future resources with our leadership team. So office hours were kind of a mixed bag in terms of results. Some teams took the opportunity to provide context in advance, and that made the conversations much more productive. But the volume of impromptu consulting or people reaching out to my team did not decrease. So they keep being bombarded by DMs from whoever wanted to have a shortcut into the platform team. And for the last one, I found very limited success explaining and promoting our capabilities in my role showed through the org. Not much change, and the attempt made a little difference. I wonder how it looks. Yeah, it doesn't look good. That strike's supposed to be over the words, showing in a way that it didn't work. Anyway, that was our first iteration. Before the next one, we put more thought and we analyzed more deeply the ways we work with others, and we try to model our interactions from a systems thinking perspective. So if you consider the interconnected whole and you have inputs, outputs, and what happens in between, then it becomes easier to find the bottlenecks that are constraining your flow. The most basic of those interactions with other teams, and likely the most expensive, were dependencies. So in every planning cycle, our team received requests to build something for feature teams. We had to validate each one of those requests for feasibility. We had to t-shirt size them, stack them using org priorities, and decide which ones made the cut and which ones fell below the line. And you can imagine all the ways in which that could be problematic. You get dependencies late, the dependencies are not well defined, the dependencies collide, the dependencies do not fit a bucket in priority, even when people try to trick them into them. So moving up, we look into a different kind of interactions, and we characterize those, the shorter ones, the more focused ones used to solve immediate problems or to provide guidance, as following the service provider model. Even when we work to reduce the volume of those interactions, we realize they will be always present, especially as a complement for the next one. The holy grail of every platform team, the self-service model. Here's where if you dedicate enough capacity, you can build capabilities that are intuitive, documented, and automated enough that other teams can leverage them pretty much on their own. So gradually, we oriented our actions to do more of the top one and less of the bottom one. We started yet another awareness campaign. This time that was focused on the best ways to engage our team. We made our ownership very, very clear and explained, depending on the specific need, what was the most appropriate mechanism or channel to communicate with us. We tried to reply to every question with a documented answer, and that eventually became a knowledge hub for feature teams. We also created how-to guides for the most common tasks with the idea of automating them, those manual steps, somewhere in the future. We doubled down in office hours, this time with an emphasis of capturing the decisions made in our wiki so they were searchable by anyone. In doing this, we detected several inconsistencies in our own guidance. So we have implicit assumptions that were not quite correct, and we had to document the right ones, again, in the wiki. Finally, and I think this is the most relevant one, I coach my engineers to use DMs as opportunities to train the org in redirecting those longer conversations to office hours. You can imagine, a platform team, everybody wants something, and going through the official channels is not enough. So when I started talking with my engineers about this, some of them were concerned about impacting personal relationships. What if I say no to someone? What if I need something from them in the future? So we role-played a few situations so everybody was comfortable doing that. That exercise ended in playbooks for the team, where we put scripted responses for the most common requests and examples taken from the best interactions. We, as a team, had to change and evolve as much as anyone else. Gently but firmly, with a lot of nudging, we experienced some tangible results. And without that being one of our goals, the quality and thoroughness of our inputs improved. The needs that were coming to us, they were now more clear, more concise, more consistent, and the conversations are much more productive. And here's where success is a tricky word. Our success proved we could take more And fortunately or unfortunately, more was given to us in the last reorg. Our surface area doubled after taking ownership of more platform services. So this time, we look into the most time-consuming requests. The typical open questions you get on things like, why this does not work? Or why this is making my operation slower? Why this is not working? Okay. Is it? What do you guys see? Not there. For that, we're talking about why this is not working. So we created troubleshooting and self-diagnosis tool that we push towards people every chance we had. The tools end being so useful that many adopted them, and now we have contributors from all over the org and extensions we never thought of. If you remember, my idea was to minimize future dependency work. So we took every opportunity that was presented to transform product needs into reusable platform capabilities. Every capability you build that is reused, it gives you the chance to use your time somewhere else. So one example of these capabilities is what we created to support MTOs. MTOs are multi-tenant organizations. This is a special case because they need to break the restriction of isolation between different tenants. In this fantasy example, you can imagine a central hub like Disney, and they need to communicate across spoke or satellite organizations like Marvel, Pixar, or Star Wars. A message posted by a leader like Mickey in his storyline can now reach the confines of the galaxy and be read by anyone in the Star Wars realm. To support this case, the MTO use case, we created capabilities that were configurable and generic enough to be later adopted by 3 other teams. So one capability, 4 teams. We did storylines, campaigns, communities, and AMA. Our team landscape today looks different. Quarter after quarter, we see the shift from build this thing for me to guide me in using this thing on my own. What keeps us busy today? We're working on simplification for customer features that look small in appearance but can be labor intensive. So we are doing this by reallocating responsibility across services. So if you need to deploy one of these features, you just need to touch 1 or 2 services instead of 6. For some of our code bases, we run a champions program that entrusts a few individuals on each one of the teams to review and approve PRs on their own. And in one of those cases, that program reduced our interventions in 50%. As we are not a rebranded SR team, we don't intend to become one. Part of our role today is to help feature teams understand and act on reliability and performance on their own. And the last thing, new product features, they can be made exciting during demo days. Now, try that with deprecation or latency reduction in 10%. So we keep looking for creative ways of explaining the value of platform investments and preserving the capacity required to keep things healthy. Looking further into the next 2, 3, 5 years, we keep alive the aspirational goal of scaling and white labeling our offerings so they can be used by other products in Microsoft. We continue iterating, we continue focusing on high leverage activities as much as we can and learning from our experiences. Wrapping up, we discuss the nature of platform teams' work and some ways to make it better. And I think that one recurring theme is the challenge of capacity. How do we manage ever-growing demands with limited resources? The answer isn't just about increasing headcount, but optimizing processes, encouraging self-service, and continually evolve based on feedback. If anything, please remember that a platform team's strength is not just in the things they build, but the practices they adopt, the tools they provide, and the culture they cultivate. Focus on reducing toil, leverage comprehensive documentations, and self-service, so you can scale your impact without scaling or growing your team linearly. Recognize that each request is not just a task, but an opportunity to teach and drive towards self-sufficiency. Great platform teams can tell a good story about what they built, what they're building, and how that makes the overall engineering org more effective. And that is an essential survival skill. The more capacity you create, the more you can do to enable other teams. You will never run short of work to do, so make that your top priority. I hope these ideas resonate with you and lead to something new very soon. Thank you for listening. It's been Diego Quiroga. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diego. I did have one quick question that kind of popped into my head as I was kind of reading through this. You know, runbooks are great, but it's never kept up to date. What is one strategy that you're probably going to use to kind of make sure that runbooks are staying up to date?
Well, we make runbooks as part of our planning, so there's a dedicated capacity to that. And aside of our on-call rotation, we have another role called QoS that not also cover like these requests that were coming from other teams, but taking care of runbooks. And there's like a backlog of runbook updates too.
Sweet, perfect. Let's go to the audience questions here. This is a fun one. Can you share a tech-related dad joke that never fails to lighten the mood during a platform engineering meeting? You know, platform planning meetings and all that sort of stuff, looking at things, it's very stressful. So what has worked for you?
I think we always joke about that. We can do more. We can always do more. We can resolve things in a second. It's always about people. At some point, people do not understand what we do, and we have to explain. I remember how when they reach out to DMs and they say, "Hey, can you take my request?" Yeah, but I need to take care of my project. Oh, you do projects too? Yeah, we do projects and we do support. So our jokes, I cannot remember anyone, but it's always about like, yeah, we can do that in a month or two. When we're always talking about like a year or two.
Nice. I got one dad joke that always kind of flies in some of these meetings, which is, what do computers snack on?
I don't know.
Anyone? Microchips. Oh, chips is a good one too. There we go. All right. Going to the next one here. What is your approach to monitoring and alerting within a self-service model?
Okay. That's also, in the way we do it, it's also embedded in the capabilities that we build. So whenever, even if it's self-service, we have two levels of alerting. One is the most basic for critical operations that we are alerted on in our own call. But then we have a way to map ownership for operations across feature teams, and so they get alerts themselves. We don't want to be the focus, all the alerts in the entire organization. We're supporting like 25 teams. And that was crazy. We did that for a while. Now we modify the alerting so everything is owned by someone, and that someone gets alerted when something breaks. A big bar? Oh, okay.
All right, there we go. Going to the next one here. A big part of platform engineers' job is providing customer service to other engineering teams. How did you coach high performers to do this well? You know, engineers getting to talk to other people that too?
Yeah, I think that the platform engineers are a different kind of engineers. I've been reflecting about that. I should write something. I should talk about it. This special kind of person who can get bombarded by questions by everyone and still be nice and calm answering each one of them. In the way we do it, we talk a lot about our week or every 2 weeks about things that happen. And most of our interactions are positive, and most of our interactions are good anecdotes to share with other members of the teams. Some of them are not. Some of them are maybe aggressive or rush or whatever. And I think we do a lot of psychology among ourselves. And there are more seniors. Obviously, it's a mix of people. So you have very senior people who know how to deal with those situations. And those are the ones who coach our team internally.
Cool.
But it's not also, it's the most difficult part, I guess, from being a platform engineer.
Yeah, basically pick on the one that can talk.
Yes.
Just always point at that person. Got it.
No, but seriously, you need to train everyone. Even the most shy person in your team, they need to learn how to say no, or how I was saying, like, redirect longer conversations to office hours, and it takes a lot of time for those cases.
Cool. All right, going to the next one here. In the context of platform engineering, how do you balance workload and priorities for continuous improvement?
Okay, this is the most complicated one. This shift that was mentioned between doing work for others and enabling others is happening for reals. And that's the only thing that created enough capacity and time for us to deal with our priorities. If I see this quarter demands from outside, maybe one is about building something and the other 12 is about providing guidance or give me a kickstart so I can move on my own. The way we've been dealing with this, we've been very focused on product and 2 years ago. Right now, moving into 2024, our capacity to deal with continuous improvement will exceed, I guess, 30% of our dedication. But getting there took a lot of work, internal work, and also internal work at all levels, explaining what we did things, what we need the time, what we need the capacity. This dashboard that I show is like, hey, it's not just about the things we build, it's about supporting everybody else. So if we don't have enough capacity, everybody else will be slowed by us.
All right.
Creatives.
Here's the last one right here. Can you share a memorable eureka moment when a seemingly impossible tech challenge was solved by an unexpected and comical twist of events? Like, you did not expect to see that bug, but it just auto-resolved itself. Or magically became somebody else's problem. Yeah,
so at times you have some big boulders to move. There are big deprecations, things that were supposed to happen 3 years ago. One of them was one migration that never completed. And we spent like a month planning for it and deciding how we're going to be resourcing it, whether with our team, other teams, how we build a plan for the next 2 years to resolve that migration. And suddenly, from one day to the other, that product was no longer needed. The need was killed. All our work, I think we were happy not having to move forward to that work. I don't know if it's super comical, but for us, spending a month planning for something that was no longer needed, that was really fun.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there are a few of those comical sort of things that I can also kind of think of. We worked moving to the cloud for a good 3 years or so, and we said, just kidding, nah.
I forgot it.
But thank you all for kind of joining in. The next talk is going to be